Hi, I have just returned from a meeting that took place at Kootenai Health, which excluded public comment. The purpose of the meeting was for the board to meet, look at, and discuss the white paper on the transitioning to a not-for-profit 501(c). They had their legal consultants on remotely with them as well. I wanted to let you know that some of the fiscal advantages that were presented may very well be substantiated. A discussion of financials in a large institution is above my comprehension, but there was one phrase in all that was discussed that stood out to me, and this is the topic of my discussion. I will share my screen and point out a word that was used several times in the white paper and the discussion. It's a phrase I first heard in a nursery rhyme. It is nimble. Remember Jack be nimble, Jack be quick? Jack jump over the candlestick? Being nimble helped Jack to jump over something. I want you to look at this paragraph. Ability to convene without being subject to open meeting requirements that may otherwise hinder nimble decision-making, hinder discussion of sensitive topics, and/or require disclosure of competitively sensitive material. It was brought out that competitors enter into the marketplace with the hospital with their products and services to vie for contracts. Those entities do not wish for their game plans and pricing schedules to be presented in an open forum that would create disadvantages for them. Without the shield of a closed meeting, some potential entities may opt out of bargaining with the hospital altogether. It would seem to me that the very high-end discussions could take place with the public without the details of what is being offered in those situations and by whom. Those situations, in fact, do not concern me as much as what kinds of policies could be pushed forward on a huge workforce of our good men and women, such as what we've seen so far, even with an elected board residing. Why bring up policy? Let's read on. By removing open meeting requirements and/or public records disclosures supports more candid communication between management, community members, and the KH Board of Trustees, improving decision-making efficiencies. How will candid communication take place with community members? So far in this process, candid communication meant that the board made a decision, then quickly and nimbly passed it by the community at large as a PS. With this present chapter, the board was invited to a candid discussion, and all but one showed up to meet the community. The white paper disclosed there will be a liaison with the board and a group of citizens known as members. It is not clear to me where these members come from or who appoints them. On page 10, we read, the Idaho statutes require KH to also have members that are broadly representative of the public served. What does this mean and who appoints them? I am not sure, but let me digress here and state my concerns, having worked for about 2 years at NIC. Our community is known to be broadly conservative. To me, this means that a large percentage of our panhandle population supports the national and state constitutions. We see ourselves as consumers of healthcare with all of the accompanying rights. As a group, we tend to draw our news sources from sites that are uncensored and certainly not from mainstream media. We are not known to support wholesale abortion, radical gender reassignment surgeries, and health choice emancipation of minors in these serious medical decisions. Also, the way I see it, the group I call progressives have proclivities that are direct opposite. They believe that the directives handed down by Dr. Fauci, the NIH, and the CDC are based on truth and a desire for the greatest good of all in mind. They apparently have not listened to the recordings of Bill Gates stating that with reproductive technology and vaccines, we can see a great reduction in our population. They break the HIPAA law by inquiring after each employee's vaccine status, then force vaccine mandates on the public, touting, in my opinion, very bad science. Then they largely support healthcare center obscenities. such as wholesale abortion, gender reassignment surgeries, and medical emancipation from parental guidance of minors. So here is my obvious question. When the members are chosen, from which arena will they largely come from? Even under the direction of a voted-in board, we saw the horror of experimental mRNA vaccines forced on our hospital staff and faculty, and the administration of remdesivir given to COVID patients. As a side note, my friend who was admitted in Spokane for COVID, her physician fortunately talked her out of taking remdesivir, and she feels he saved her life. So what would be implemented beyond what we've seen so far with an appointed board and apparently appointed members? That is my concern. The conservatives are in the majority, and politically they suffer disadvantages. They are not as well funded. The support wanes from the most powerful leaders in both our state and in the federal governments who disagree with our convictions. The conservatives are often blindsided by quick proposals for change, provided they're even announced. And when they are followed by an aggressive implementation timetable with little, if any, chance for debate. Oh, let's hear it again for being nimble. I saw this harsh reality at NIC, and I am seeing it here with the hospital. It takes time for a community to understand what is happening in the bastions of power and to process their concerns. Lastly, the conservative community either gets bad press or is underrepresented by the mainstream media. Let these pieces of the white paper alone sink in, conservative community. There is much more one could ponder and question about this change to a 501(c)(3), but what I'm bringing to the table is enough to make us all want to turn out for community questions. There is an informational meeting come up this Thursday, December 8th, as seen in this announcement here. Furthermore, contact them with concerns and questions, but be prepared to get back what I got back, namely an announcement that this change to a 501(c) is the direction the hospital will be taking because the vast majority of hospitals in the country are not locally owned county hospitals. There does not seem much room for debate. Is that a surprise?